G'day, welcome back. Today I'm going to be addressing a big issue for a lot of people that are coming to Colombia and especially Medellin. There's a lot of videos out there on safety related things and sensationalizing safety. Fear gets clicks, fear gets views. I've been here for 2 years now, so I just want to make this video to explain my honest thoughts on safety, from the good to the bad, to what's truth, to what's lies. So you can really have a proper opinion from someone who's lived here and seen all the stories and, been part of it. I personally, in the 2 years that I've been here, luckily haven't had any issues with safety. But that being said, I'm also not a fresh traveler. So it's not like I'm from Australia. I'd only ever visited Bali and then I came straight to Medellin as my first destination. No, I have been to about 40 countries around the world. And before I came to Colombia, I actually lived in Central America, so Mexico, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Guatemala, for about 2 years in total. So I already knew about the safety concerns and how to be aware and what to look out for. Maybe that's also a reason why I haven't really had any safety problems. So first I'm going to talk about realizations, what I realized after 2 years of being here and on the topic of safety. And at the end, I'm going to give you 3 real life examples of things that you should never ever do. I see people doing this over and over and over, and these 3 things always lead to trouble. So I'm going to tell you 3 real life stories of when this happened and also how to avoid them to make sure that this doesn't happen to you as well. First realization is that the way that I look really helps me avoid a lot of the safety issues, because I don't look like a tourist. They might think, hey, this guy's obviously not Colombian, but he could be some other type of Latino. They don't see me immediately and think dollar sign. When I first got to Medellin, I came with 2 of my mates from Seattle, Washington, 6'4" and 6'2", white guys, blue eyes, well-built guys. So they stick out anywhere, right? So whenever I was walking with them, they would get hassled, harassed. Everyone would be like, hey, buy this, buy this. Hey, where are you from? Blah, blah, blah. And then I noticed when I walked by myself, no one asked me anything. If you walk along Calle Diaz, which is like one of the most busiest streets here in the tourist area of El Poblado, there's a lot of people begging and trying to sell things and whatever. None of those people ever bother me. I can count on one hand and remove 2 fingers for the amount of times that people have actually hassled me to buy something, or they've asked me where I'm from or whatever. They more or less just leave me alone. And I think that's really because how I look. If you are white, if you look evidently like a foreigner, you might experience some more troubles with people harassing you than if you look like me or if you look Latino. But don't worry, I still have many friends here who are, obviously fair-skinned, look like complete gringos, and they haven't had any safety issues as well. And the main reason for that is because they're aware of the dangers. And that's the next thing I'm going to talk about. The second realization that I have here is that there's a big victim blaming culture here in Colombia, and especially here in Medellin. They have a phrase called no dar papaya. And what that basically means is don't be an easy target, right? Don't give people a reason to do crime on you, I guess. It's a poorly spoken sentence, but you know what I mean. Don't be stupid, basically. So I've seen so many times someone gets robbed and they're like, oh, what was he wearing? Was he wearing gold chains? Was he showing jewelry? Was he wearing an Apple Watch? There's a lot of victim blaming that goes on here. And I think that stems from the fact that the country was dangerous for so long, going back to the 90s and Pablo Escobar and all those kind of things, that it almost became a cultural thing that you have to protect yourself. At the end of the day, if anything happens to you, the only person you can blame is yourself. I almost liken it to this very harsh example, but it was something going around in the 90s before everyone realized this was a stupid argument. Do you remember when it was like, oh, this woman got raped? And then in court, they would ask, what was she wearing? It was that kind of victim blaming culture that you saw in those kind of cases. That's still a thing here. What was he wearing? What was he doing? What did he do to put himself in this situation to become a victim of crime? There's no way around that. That's just how it is here. So my honest realization is that the only person that can protect you is you. You need to be aware of what the dangers are, and that's what I'm going to cover a bit later in this video. But don't expect the police to come running and save you. Don't expect, any type of repercussion or ramifications if you become a victim of crime. At that point, it's too late. So it's really important to be aware and to be vigilant to stop this from happening to you. The next thing that I notice is that criminals aren't just going around and willy-nilly robbing everybody. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a business for them, right? And they're looking for maximum ROI, return on investment. So they're investing their time, and furthermore, they're investing a lot of risk. So every time they rob someone, that's a risk they might get caught, right? So they're not just going and trying to rob every tourist. What they do is they normally ride around on bikes. There's one guy riding the bike and the guy in the back who's kind of like the lookout. And what he will do is he'll look around and see like, oh, what's this guy wearing? What's that guy doing? Does he have Apple Watch? Is he wearing gold chain? Is he wearing Gucci head to toe? And they'll kind of see from, first impressions, who is going to net them the biggest gain. So that's why it's so important not to be an easy target. Don't show off that you have a lot of things to give away. Don't show off that you have a lot of money. Don't be randomly walking around unaware of your surroundings, talking on the phone, like flailing it around. Trust me, people are watching you. They're going to be aware that, okay, that's an easy target. Let's take advantage of it. So the next realization that I had is that the sooner you realize that safety is an onus on you, the more likelihood you have of staying safe, right? Don't come here and complain about safety and this happened and that happened when it was ultimately, as I said, victim blaming. Ultimately, it's going to be your fault. Okay. And that being said, what I've seen from 2 years here, from Facebook forums to real life stories to videos on YouTube to everything, is that 99% of safety issues and people who are victims of crime, they could have avoided these crimes very easily if they were aware and if they were educated, right? And I don't mean educated like going to Harvard. I mean educated on the dangers of Colombia. If you're watching this video, you've already taken the first step, and I don't think really you're going to have many issues with safety, because the first step is actually doing some study on the places you're going to. What do I need to look out for? Is this place safe? What should I do? What shouldn't I do? If you're watching this video, that's already miles ahead than some other people who just randomly go and do whatever they feel like it and then complain later that they got drugged or they got robbed or whatever. So since you're watching this video, let's accept that 99% of things can be avoided. Obviously, there's 1% of where you're just in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's probably the same thing as most places in the world. You got bad luck that day, something might happen to you wherever you are. But 99% of things I truly believe can be avoided. And I'm going to give you 3 stories right now which really highlight that. Okay, so let's start with story number 1. There's a lot of digital nomads that come here, right? I think most of the people who come to Colombia, they work online. So they'll go to a cafe or a co-work, get their laptop out, have a coffee, and that'll be their work day. That's fine. Many people do that. What's not fine is doing it in a place that's road facing, where there's easy access for entry and exit. Why, you're asking right now? Well, imagine this. You're on a busy main street. And remember I told you that these guys come on bikes, and you're, going to do a bit of work today. Take my laptop out. You sit it on the patio. You're enjoying the beautiful sunshine. You're taking a call, Zoom, and then boom, some guy's right next to you with a gun. This actually happened, right? I believe it was in early 2002. There's a cafe called Sweet Georgia Cafe in Laureles, and they have a big patio right next to, an easy access street. And there was a lot of people that day working from their laptops. A couple of guys came on their bikes. One guy got off and he said, "Hey, everybody, give me all your laptops, give me all your stuff." That day, everybody lost their stuff just because they made the mistake of believing, hey, this is California, this is, San Diego. I can be outside on the patio and working and showing the whole world that I have this laptop and all this expensive gear. So that's the first thing that you never, never, never should do. Do not be outside showing the whole world that you have stuff. And this goes back to what I said, don't be an easy target, okay? So that's a true story. Now let's get to number 2. Number 2 is, this is very common sense, but as the old saying goes, common sense is sometimes not so common. And that is, don't go to places you don't know by yourself. Some of you are looking at me now like, okay, what kind of bullshit advice is this? Who in their right mind would ever go to Medellin and just go to a random place? Well, I'm about to tell you. My masseuse slash physio slash good mate of mine, Carlos, he was telling me this story one day. He said one of his client was from the US, I believe, somewhere. Client goes, "Hey, Carlos, what do you know about this Bello place?" Carlos like, "What the fuck? Bello? And he's like, yeah, you know this place to the north of Medellin, Bello. Carlos like, oh, okay, Bejo. Okay. If you guys don't know, this is kind of a hot area, kind of a dangerous place, right? I've had many people who've told me never go there unless you go with a local. I even have friends who live in the nice part of this neighborhood, Bejo, and they said they only stick to their own pocket and they never leave. They've never even visited the other parts of this town because it's heavy with gang presence, and it's just not a safe place for most people. So back to my story. Carlos's client goes, yeah, Bejo, yeah, that's the one. I've heard about it. It's pretty cool. Like, I can go there, I can visit. What's going on? And Carlos goes, hey, let me give you one piece of advice. Unless you know someone who lives there, who can show you around and make sure you're okay, never, ever go there. Me, being a Colombian, even I don't go there. So I don't really see any point. I don't see what you're going to gain from going there. So I would say avoid it. But if you really want to go, make sure you know someone who lives there, grown up there, who knows the people of that area. So Carlos thinks nothing about it. He finishes his session with this guy, goes home. The next day, he gets a photo. This guy, his client, sitting in the hospital bed. And he's like, oh shit, Carlos, I shouldn't have gone there. And Carlos like, what happened? The client says, yeah, so I decided to go with a couple of my mates, also from the US, just to go check it out. And we actually got stabbed and robbed. They stole all our stuff and they stabbed us. And now that's why I'm in hospital. As I said, common sense sometimes, not so common. Don't make stupid mistakes like this. This is not victim blaming. This is just stupidity, straight up stupidity. Who the hell would do this in a random country, anywhere in the world, let alone somewhere in Medellin, Colombia, where obviously it's been known that there's dangerous places, there's gangs, there's still drugs. Why? This shit doesn't make any sense to me. But I guess that's my lesson in this is never ever go anywhere that you don't know is safe. Always research the areas before you go and listen to the locals. Like if this guy just listened to Carlos instead of being a hero about it, he wouldn't have had any issues. Instead, he ended up in a hospital bed. So don't let that happen to you as well. Now let's move to number 3 on the things that you never, ever, ever should do ever in Medellin, Colombia, and probably nowhere else in the world as well. This is also one of the common sense things. Never go to even safe places when it's low light or it's a very quiet time and there's no one else there. So there's some places in the city where at some times are completely safe. For example, El Centro. El Centro is downtown, if any of you guys don't know about that. During the day, completely safe. You can walk around. I've been a few times to restaurants, shopping, whatever. It's cool. But at nighttime, I know even some locals that never go there because at nighttime it completely changes, okay? Now, maybe that might be an obvious place, but one place that's not so obvious is maybe the most popular hike in all of Medellin, Tres Cruces, or the Hill of the Three Crosses. It's a great hike. My girlfriend actually, this is her favorite place in the whole of the city. Her favorite thing to do is to go to this place on a Saturday or a Sunday and hike up. So it's very safe, but a lot of the time I see foreigners trying to go up there for sunset or sunrise or something, and that is a big no. Let me tell you why by explaining a story that happened less than 6 months ago. A very sad and tragic story, actually. There was a guy, a tourist, who was here and he wanted to go up this hike and he wanted to see sunrise because obviously once you get up this hill, there's a great view. So I'm sure that sunrise would look really, really nice from there. He went up at sunrise. I think he went up like maybe 5 a.m., maybe 4 a.m. Very early, right? If you guys don't know, this Tres Cruces area, the hike, backs on to one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the city. So often people are getting robbed there, people are getting attacked there. And unfortunately, at this point, that's what happened to this guy as well. A group of guys actually attacked him. They tried to rob his stuff, assaulted him, and they actually threw him off the top of the hill into a ravine. And it was there that he suffered very bad injuries. He was taken to hospital where unfortunately he passed away. As sad as that is, that's one thing that I see happening a lot. Not as far as dying or people losing their lives, but a lot of time people fall victims of this because they just don't check. Yes, I know this hike is good, but should I be going up there alone when it's very dark? I still see this being talked about a lot in the hiking group. There's actually a hiking group of people that go to that spot, and it's always foreigners asking like, hey, does anyone want to go up at like 8 p.m? Anyone want to go up at like 4 a.m? Let's catch a sunrise. And then obviously it's Colombians responding with like, hey, don't do that. That's very stupid and very dangerous. You should go only when it's highly trafficked, highly busy, and there's good light, you know? So that's a third one. Always do your research because places that can be safe at some times are very dangerous at other points. After hearing these stories, you might be a little bit worried, you might be a little bit scared, but I'm just telling you this so that you're educated so nothing happens to you. But to put all this in context, right? In 2022, Medellin saw 1.4 million international tourists, okay? In that same period, 25 foreigners lost their lives in Medellin. So if you do those numbers, 25 out of 1.4 million, it's a very, very low figure. And I would even go a step further by saying that I guarantee you probably 95% of those 25 were drugged and robbed cases. And a lot of these drugged and robbed cases that I see as well is guys just taking unnecessary risks. They know that people get drugged and robbed, but I'm not sure if they like the exhilaration of like, hey, I might sleep with a girl or I might die. Maybe they do it for the adrenaline, I'm not sure, but risk taking and lack of education and desperation is really going to end up in a bad way here. But yeah, that being said, you watching this video, probably going to be part of the 99.995 that nothing ever happens to you in this city, because if you've taken the first step, you understand that, hey, I'm going to a new place. I need to understand what happens there, the culture of that place, the potential dangers. So well done on that, and happy travels.